Hi everyone, Mike here with you guys once again, and I completed a couple games. I'm going to do some reviews for them. This video is going to be a review of the game Soma. Soma came out in, I think, 2015, and it was on PC and on PS4. It's coming to Xbox One later this year. I think it's next month actually, with a safe mode for those of us who are too chicken to finish the thing. But I actually finished the thing, the regular game, and here are my thoughts on it. It's from Frictional, and I feel like it felt like playing two games at once. You have one part of it is the survival horror aspect, which is basically stealth, survival horror like Alien Isolation and Outlast, games like that. Felt very Amnesia light, but of course they dialed down the difficulty quite a bit compared to that game. But and then the other half is the part that I find much more interesting, and that is the dark, smart sci-fi element. In other words, the story and the themes. That I felt was Soma's strong suit. Now, not to say that the horror elements didn't work. They did, in and of themselves. They're effective. It was terrifying. But the issue that I had was that the horror element, at least halfway through, at least up until over halfway through, the horror elements, they felt separate from the story element. So it was the feeling of playing two games at once. Okay, here's the story part. Okay, now we're going to go back to stealth survival horror. And now we're going to go back to story. And then back to stealth survival horror. And as good as the stealth survival horror was, as intense as it was, I thought the story was just so much, the themes are so much better. And I'm hoping that the safe mode that's coming out may remedy this. But I'm also concerned that by keeping the monsters in the game, but making them not able to hurt you, could break the immersion for a lot of people, because the monsters are still going to attack you, you're just not going to die. So it might still feel intense in terms of, because the tension that and the sound design of the creatures and the environments, they really add a lot of tension and atmosphere to what's going on. But if you can't die, it takes the threat away completely. And it could be silly and immersion breaking for some people. So we'll see what happens once this mode is released. This mode is coming out for Xbox One and for PC. It'll be on PS4 and sometime in the future. I might go back and play it again once this mode is activated to give my thoughts on it. But this review is for the complete original game. And my thoughts basically are that there are two experiences that don't really gel well together, at least not until over halfway through. There is a point where the horror elements, the scary elements, begin to work with the story and gel with it a bit more, and near the end of the game. But honestly, that's my thoughts. I really feel like it's one of those examples where you have two elements that work well, but the fact that they don't gel well, I think, is the game's Achilles heel. I personally, between the two, prefer the story this time and the ideas, because they're so well done. And even though most of the puzzles are pretty by the numbers, when the puzzles implement some of the ideas that the story is trying to convey, it's an incredible and very thought-provoking experience. And I'm not going to say what they are here, but if you played it, you know what I'm talking about. So I would have liked to have seen I would like to have seen more puzzles that dealt with the theme and used the theme in its gameplay mechanics, because when they do that, they do it a couple times. When they do that, it's quite an achievement. And I think that this is one of those examples of a game where you have elements that are excellent, but you also have elements that are okay or good. And when you have parts of it that are incredible and then parts of it that aren't up to that standard, even though they're not bad. In fact, they're good, very well done. The fact that they're not as good as its strongest point hurts it overall. And I wonder if had this been a walking simulator with more puzzles that implemented the themes instead of a stealth hiding from the monsters type of thing, this could have been one of the best games ever made. It could have been. I feel like this is a good game, but it could have been a great game. And I feel like they chickened out by relying on stealth survival horror because it feels like they're playing it safe. I mean, it's well done. Like I said, it's atmospheric, it's intense, it's well done. But it's just not up to the same level as the themes and the story they were trying to tell. And I feel like this was supposed to be a dark, smart sci-fi thriller, and they decided to market it as a horror, and I feel like by marketing it more of a sci-fi horror, I just feel like they hurt the game by not going all the way with the more interesting aspects of it and just letting that be the whole thing. So I think having this be a walking simulator with more of the puzzles that implemented its ideas and themes and that made you think, this honestly could have been one of the best games ever made. And as it stands now, Soma is a really good game. It is. If you're a horror fan or a sci-fi fan, it's definitely worth experiencing. However, I feel like it falls short of greatness because the horror elements don't, over half the game, don't blend in very well with the more interesting sci-fi elements. And there's also, it also could have used more interesting puzzles instead of most of the puzzles being by the numbers, with a couple of puzzles in the game that really utilize the themes of the story. So I'm gonna give thumbs up, but it's a disappointing thumbs up, not because it was bad at all. It wasn't. It's a disappointing thumbs up, meaning this could have been great, but instead it's simply good. Anyways, that's my thoughts on Soma. I do think the story deserved the Game of the Year nomination. I don't know if it ever got that or not. I can't remember. But I hope that my advice to Frictional Games is when you have an interesting idea, please don't use your previous ideas as a crutch. I think that's your biggest fault with this game. And I think you guys just need to go all the way, take a chance, especially for an indie developer. Just go all the way, make the more interest, focus on your strengths, and just make the games you want to make, and don't use your past success as a crutch. Not everything needs to be Penumbra or Amnesia. You don't need all your games to be in the same genre as those games. You know what you're doing with horror. You've proven that. You obviously wanted to do something a bit more sci-fi here, and if you'd gone all the way with that, I think you would have had another smash. But still, it's still a good experience. I still recommend it. Anyways, that's all I got to say. I have another review coming up for Gears 4. Stay tuned.